After the wedding, Chloe and I were supposed to be driving up to Napa Valley for our honeymoon. Instead, she pulled the car up to the gates of Crestwood Mortuary to pick up her protege, Leo. Leo was dressed in somber black, holding an urn. He slid into the back seat. "Caleb, thanks so much for this. I just want to take my dad's ashes back home to be buried." He offered a weak smile. "Chloe said you guys were heading north toward Napa, and it's right on the way. I hope you don't mind giving me a lift." I stared at Chloe, my blood running cold. "So, for our honeymoon, it's going to be the three of us, plus an urn." Chloe's face was a mask of earnest sincerity. "It's on the way, Caleb. It's just a detour. We drop him off at the cemetery, and then we can get back to our honeymoon. It'll only take a few extra hours." I got out of the car and dialed my phone. "Mr. Wallace? It's Caleb Grant. I need you to draw up divorce papers. Immediately." I've been in Napa plenty of times, but Chloe never had. I told myself it didn't matter where we went. As long as it was just the two of us, it would be a perfect honeymoon. But Chloe hadn't even gotten on the freeway. We were going in the wrong direction. I finally glanced at the car's GPS, and the destination stared back at me in bold letters. Crestwood Mortuary. Chloe had insisted on planning the entire honeymoon herself, taking charge of everything. "You don't have to lift a finger," she'd promised, her eyes shining. "Just relax and enjoy the surprise I have for you." She'd even shot down my suggestion to plan it together, insisting that the mystery was part of the romance. I guess this was the big surprise. I didn't say a word, just stared out the window, picturing the surprise that awaited me. Soon enough, Chloe's phone rang. She answered, her voice softening. "We're almost there. Just wait for us by the gate." Every fantasy I'd had about our honeymoon shattered the moment the car came to a stop. Our honeymoon chariot, parked right in front of the solemn gates of a mortuary. My blood felt like it had turned to ice. My voice was raspy when I finally spoke. "Chloe, what the hell are we doing here?" Leo was standing a short distance away, dressed head to toe in black, clutching a wooden box wrapped in red cloth. Chloe gestured for him to get in. He climbed into the back, placing the box on the seat. When he saw me, he forced a fragile smile. "Caleb, I've been wanting to take my dad's ashes home to be buried." Then he repeated his earlier line. "Coach Simmons said you were heading toward Napa, and it's right on the way. Sorry for the trouble." The trunk was packed with new swim trunks and elegant suits I'd bought for our trip, each item a symbol of my excitement for our time alone. Now, it all felt like a sick joke. The most ridiculous part was that the box of racy lingerie Chloe had bought for the trip was on the back seat, crushed underneath the urn holding Leo's father's ashes. Who the hell goes on a three-person honeymoon with a box of human remains? A wave of fury rose in my chest. My voice dropped to a low growl. "This is our honeymoon. Leo, you're not just trouble, you're deliberately ruining this." I turned to Chloe. "It's the first day of our honeymoon, and you want me to share the car with an urn? Doesn't that creep you out?" Chloe's brow furrowed in annoyance. "He's just catching a ride. He'll get out when we get there. Can you stop being so cold? Show some compassion, for God's sake." She went on, her voice rising. "We're on the same cycling team. Aren't we supposed to help our teammates? We're taking him home, and it doesn't mess up our plans. It's a win-win. Plus, if I get bored driving, Leo can keep me company." Her excuses kept coming, each one more infuriating than the last. Besides, Leo is all alone, holding his father's ashes. He can't get an Uber like this. If I don't help him, who will? You're usually the most reasonable person I know. What is wrong with you today? My eyes burned with rage. I slammed my hand on the steering wheel. Who gave you the right to change our plans behind my back? What gives you the right? Leo leaned forward from the back seat, patting my shoulder. "Caleb, man, don't be angry. This is a big day for my dad. Please, just let the old man rest in peace." I jerked away from his touch. "Don't touch me." Leo flinched back as if he'd been electrocuted, his body recoiling so fast he hit his head on the car's ceiling. Chloe immediately got out, opened his door, and checked to see if he was okay. A couple's first honeymoon, and you want to spend it with someone else? I demanded. "Are you serious about this marriage at all?" Just as Chloe started to answer, Leo stopped her. "Coach, it's my fault. I was so wrapped up in my own grief, I didn't think about Caleb's feelings. The honeymoon is more important, of course." His eyes started to get red. "I'll figure something out on my own." He looked so pathetic. "I have no one else here. My dad was my only family. I'm sorry. I just wanted him to be at peace as soon as possible." He made a show of grabbing the door handle. "I can ride my bike. Hell, I can walk home if I have to." He looked at me, his face a tragic mask. "I'm sorry, Caleb. You two should get going." Chloe immediately slid into the back seat next to him, blocking his exit. "What are you doing? I told you I'd take you. Don't you remember? I said I'd always be your pacemaker, didn't I?" My mind screeched to a halt. Pacemaker. I'd seen that word somewhere. Right? It was on Leo's Instagram. A picture of a cyclist's back, taken from behind. The caption read, "You're the pacemaker of my life, shielding me from the wind and rain. And I'll gladly be the vine that wraps around you forever." So that's how it was. Their relationship was already that deep. Leo was someone Chloe had met on her cycling team. She was always going on about how handsome and tough he was, how much drive he had. She even put him in charge of organizing most of the team's events. I'd heard people on the team joke that they were the unofficial power couple, but this was Chloe. My Chloe, the woman I'd been with since college, who loved me more than life itself. I trusted her more than I trusted myself. But the evidence of my betrayal was right here, staring me in the face. I couldn't deny it anymore. Leo was more than just a teammate, and Chloe was no longer the brilliant college athlete I had fallen for. A sharp pain shot through my chest, and my throat tightened. This was our wedding day, the start of our honeymoon, and it had turned into this nightmare. Chloe turned to face me. "Are you going to keep making a scene? Do you have any idea how far the nearest bus station is? How is Leo supposed to get there alone with an urn? You know, he can't get a rideshare out here. Are you really going to pick his moment of greatest need to argue about something so small?" She got back in her seat. As she moved, I caught a whiff of sweat mixed with something else, something acrid. It was the scent of a long bike ride, the kind where you don't wear underwear. I felt sick. It was the smell Leo had left on her when he'd leaned against her. I turned my head away in disgust. She turned back to Leo. "Just stay put. I said I'd get you there today, and I will." Blinded by fury, I got out of the car again and yanked open the back door. "Leo, this is my honeymoon. Please get out. I do not consent to you riding in this car. I can call a car from my company to take you anywhere you want to go." I looked at Chloe. "Get him out of the car, right now, or this trip is over." She sat in the driver's seat, looking at me with pure annoyance. "Just get in the car, Caleb." "Fine. I'll drop you off at the first resort on our itinerary. You can check in and get started. As soon as I drop Leo at the cemetery and he's buried his dad, I'll come right back for you." Leo looked at me, his body trembling slightly, but he wiped his face with a defiant gesture. "It's fine. I don't want to ruin your trip. I hope you two have a great honeymoon." He then looked at Chloe, his eyes misty. "You should go on your vacation. I told you, we're not on the same path. Why make Caleb unhappy?" He clutched the wooden box to his chest. "Let me figure this out on my own. Dad, son's taking you home." I'll talk, but his ass didn't move an inch. Chloe finally snapped. She jumped out of the car, marched over to me, shoved me aside, and slammed the back door shut. I tried to open it again, but she pushed me so hard I stumbled and fell to the ground. "Enough," she screamed. "How long are you going to drag this out? It's just a short ride. We're legally married now. What are you so afraid of?" She stood over me, her face twisted with contempt. "You're my husband now. You have everything. Why do you have to make things so hard for Leo? All he wants is to do right by his father. Are you really going to leave him stranded here? If I had known you'd become this cold and heartless, I never would have agreed to marry you." Her every word was an icicle stabbing into my heart. Chloe and I met in college. She was a scholarship athlete, full of life and energy, but limited by her modest background. I was the one who bought her all the expensive sports equipment she needed. While we were in school, I scrimped and saved, hitting up my parents for money, and bought her 3 different high-end bikes totaling tens of thousands of dollars. To support her dream, after graduation, I begged my father to pull some strings and secure the first and most crucial sponsorship for her fledgling cycling firm. Finally, her career took off. She went from a small-time founder to a nationally recognized event planner in the cycling world. And finally, we had a grand wedding proposal. I invited all our friends and family to witness our happiness. I thought our future would be like a perfectly mapped-out route, straight and bright. But now, watching her defend another man, watching our honeymoon turn into a funeral procession, I finally understood. Everything had gone off the rails a long time ago. I was just the last one to know. Chloe looked down at me, her expression cold. "I'm giving you 2 options. First, get in the car, and we proceed as planned. Second, if you insist on throwing a tantrum, then you can get out. After all, you're the one who doesn't want to be with us, right?" In the reflection of the side view mirror, I saw Leo in the back seat. A flicker of triumph flashed in his eyes. Leo spoke up from the back. "Caleb, don't be mad. I'll talk to Coach." Then he turned to Chloe, his voice soft. "Coach, don't be like that. Caleb just doesn't understand the team spirit we cyclists have. You can't blame him for that. He's been a huge supporter of our team. You can't just yell at him because he's having a moment." Chloe snorted. "I've been way too easy on him. That's why he's so entitled." "Get out," I snarled, my anger boiling over at Leo's fake attempt to mediate. "Both of you get the hell out." Chloe got back into the driver's seat. I stared at her, unable to believe what was happening. She looked at me and said, slowly and clearly, "Fine. Since you choose not to get in the car, you can figure it out for yourself. She rolled up the window, started the engine, and the car sped away without a moment's hesitation, leaving me alone in front of the mortuary. The honeymoon itinerary I'd been holding slipped from my fingers, fluttering to the pavement where it was run over by her tire, left stained and dirty. I stood there, frozen. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Chloe. Since you're going to be so immature, I guess you weren't that excited for this trip after all. Cool off. Look at the itinerary and go to the next resort on the list and wait for me. I'll come find you after I drop Leo off. I expect my husband to be mature and see the bigger picture, not selfish and narrow-minded like you're being. My heart went completely cold, the pain sharp as a knife. I stood there for a long time before I could move. When I finally opened my eyes, I straightened my shoulders and made a call. Mr. Wallace? Draw up the divorce papers. Yes, immediately. Also, filed to freeze all joint assets between me and Chloe Simmons. After hanging up, I dialed another number. A playful voice answered on the other end. Happy honeymoon, Caleb. I looked out at the distant horizon. Juliana, I need a pilot. Now, get your private helicopter and come pick me up. I want to go somewhere I can actually have a honeymoon. Send me your location, she replied without hesitation. I'll be there in 30 minutes. With that settled, I waited calmly. Juliana Croft, the daughter of my father's business partner and Chloe's biggest rival in the industry. My parents had always preferred her for me, but I had shut down any possibility for Chloe's sake. They had warned me that Chloe's pride was her greatest weakness. She enjoyed the roads I paved for her, but resented the influence of my family's name. That's why she always insisted I stay out of her professional domain, content to be the man behind the woman. I never listened to my parents, always believing that Chloe loved me and just wanted to spare me the trouble. Now I understood. She was afraid my light would outshine hers. Afraid people would find out that her success was built on my family support. Less than 30 minutes later, a deafening roar grew closer. A helicopter hovered steadily over a nearby clearing. Juliana leaned out from the cabin and extended her hand to me. Caleb, your new journey starts now. I took a deep breath and took her hand. First stop, the Maldives. Meanwhile, Chloe and Leo were on the road to his hometown. Leo was affectionately stroking Chloe's thigh. Coach, will he ever understand us? Chloe let out a soft laugh. It doesn't matter. As long as I understand you, that's enough. Leo's eyes were red. But you're married now. I know I don't have a right to say anything. Just being able to see you is enough for me. But it still hurts. I admit I'm jealous. I just don't want to see you with him. He looked down. Am I being selfish? I don't want to cause trouble for you. I know it wasn't easy for you two to get here, but I really can't control my heart. I just want to ride with you until the very end. Seeing his teary eyes, Chloe pulled him into a hug and pressed a kiss to his lips. You idiot. Don't overthink it. Besides marriage, everything else I can give you I will. She pulled back slightly. But I am married. I can't do wrong by Caleb. I'll take care of you, but we have to keep our distance. Leo buried his face in her chest, looking wronged, but a smirk of victory flashed across his face. Chloe's phone suddenly vibrated nonstop. First came a push notification from her bank. All joint accounts under her name had been frozen. Immediately after, an email popped up. The subject line read, Divorce Agreement, sent on behalf of Mr. Caleb Grant. Her heart sank. Her financial manager called instantly, his voice frantic. Chloe, are you insane? Did you really leave Caleb stranded on the side of the road? Do you know what he's done? Check the news. Juliana Croft's helicopter is involved. Are you kidding me? The Grant family's lawyer has already contacted me. He's divorcing you and wants me to liquidate the company's assets. Chloe's heart plunged. She immediately opened a news app. The bold headline font hit her like a sledgehammer. Tech heirs marriage on the rocks. Business tycoon Juliana Croft jets off to Maldives with newlywed Caleb Grant. The article was accompanied by a high-resolution telephoto shot. The woman's profile was unmistakable. It was her greatest rival, Juliana Croft. The blood rushed to her head. She had thought he was just angry, just waiting for her to come and apologize. She never imagined he would declare the end of their relationship in such a public, brutal way. Her phone buzzed again. A text from the bank. Dear customer, your joint account ending in 1520 has been frozen. Your current available balance is $0.00. Next to her, Leo had seen the news too. His face went pale. He spoke carefully. Coach, Caleb, he didn't misunderstand something about us, did he? Chloe whipped her head around, her eyes feral. Shut up. Leo flinched, his eyes immediately welling with tears. I'm sorry, it's all my fault. I shouldn't have bothered you. He fumbled for his phone. I'll call him right now and explain. Enough. Chloe cut him off savagely. Her mind was filled with images of Caleb and Juliana together. It was anger, jealousy, and a primal fear she had never felt before. She pulled the car over and dialed Caleb's number. No answer. She dialed again. Still no answer. She slammed her fist on the steering wheel, and the horn blared. She started firing off frantic texts to Caleb. Caleb, what is this? What is going on between you and Juliana Croft? Is this how you treat me? You're doing this just to get back at me. Our honeymoon, and you're spending it with another woman? You've got a lot of nerve, freezing my accounts. Don't you forget, I own half of that company. Her messages vanished into a digital void. No reply. She had to find him. She had to confront him. Following the original honeymoon plan, she drove toward the first resort on their list. It was a place she had meticulously chosen, a 5-star hotel with unparalleled ocean views. She pictured Caleb already there, sulking alone. All she had to do was show up, apologize sincerely, say a few sweet things, and he would come around. After all, he loved her so much. After a 3-hour drive, she and Leo finally arrived at the hotel. She walked up to the front desk and gave her name. I have a reservation for the honeymoon suite. My husband, Caleb Grant, should have already checked in. The receptionist looked at Chloe and Leo with a hint of surprise, then smiled politely as she checked the system. Ma'am, I'm sorry, but Mr. Grant canceled the reservation 4 hours ago. Chloe's smile froze on her face. Canceled? That's impossible. Can you check again? I have, ma'am. It's definitely been canceled. Just then, the massive television in the center of the lobby switched to the evening business news. Sources report that Croft Industries and the Grant Corporation have reached a preliminary strategic partnership. The two giants will jointly fund a new sports media company with Mr. Caleb Grant appointed as its chief executive officer. Chloe stood frozen, feeling as if all the strength had been drained from her body. She finally realized she hadn't just lost a husband. She had lost the entire world she depended on. Coach, Leo said, walking up to her. I asked the front desk. They charge a cancellation fee for the honeymoon suite anyway. Why don't I just stay with you? It's getting late. Stay if you want. Don't forget your dad. Chloe muttered, turning and running back to the car. She had to find her new husband. The yacht sliced through the azure sea. I leaned back in the comfortable seat. Juliana sat across from me, handing me a glass of champagne. How are you feeling? I took the glass and clinked it gently against hers. Better than I've felt in years. She smiled, her eyes holding the familiar concern of a true friend. Figured things out? Yeah, I figured out. I took a sip of champagne. The cool liquid slid down my throat, washing away the last traces of heat and anger. I made her life too easy. So easy she forgot who she was. And I forgot who I was. Juliana looked at me, her gaze deep. You were never anyone's accessory, Caleb. You're a Grant. You're a leader. I smiled. It was true. Before Chloe, I was proud with my own ambitions and career plans. For her, I had dimmed my own light, willingly hiding in her shadow, playing the role of the supportive partner. I thought that was love. Now I realized it was just my own brand of foolishness. The yacht docked at a private island in the Maldives. Palm trees swayed in the breeze over pristine white sand. The butler was already waiting at the pier, respectfully guiding us toward a private villa on the beach. It had everything I'd ever dreamed of. An infinity pool that melted into the ocean, a private beach, and a living room decorated in exactly my style. This was a world Chloe couldn't even imagine. Right now, I was just glad the person next to me wasn't her. I changed into my swim trunks and stepped into the pool, letting the cool water envelop me. My phone buzzed incessantly on the poolside table. I knew it was Chloe. I ignored it. I picked up the phone and took a photo. My hand, holding a cocktail, with the turquoise pool and the vast ocean in the background. I posted it to my Instagram story, geotagged the Maldives, and added a caption. A little late, but the best. Hashtag the honeymoon I deserve. After posting, I switched my phone to silent and tossed it aside. I leaned against the edge of the pool, closed my eyes, and savored the long overdue peace. I knew what kind of storm that photo would create. And I knew this was just the beginning. Real revenge wasn't about screaming matches. It was about cutting out the foundation from under someone's feet. I was going to make her understand that the career she was so proud of was nothing more than a toy I had casually given her. And I could take it back just as easily. After relaxing, I went back to my room and called my father. Dad, it's me. His voice on the other end was as steady as ever. Are you having a good time? A great time. I paused, my tone turning serious. Dad, about our family sponsorship of Chloe's cycling firm. Our legal team is already on it, my father interrupted. She wronged you. She needs to pay the price. No one messes with a Grant. A wave of warmth washed over me. Thanks, Dad. Don't be silly. You don't thank family. My father continued. Juliana is with you, right? She's a good kid. Capable, responsible. 100 times better than Chloe. I glanced out the window. Juliana was on the beach, taking a call, her silhouette elegant against the sunset. I know, Dad. Chloe was losing her mind. She was speeding down the highway, consumed by a single thought. Find Caleb. She had to bring him back, had to ask him why he was doing this to her. Her phone rang again. It was her business partner. Chloe, where the hell are you? We have a massive problem. Her partner's voice was laced with panic. The Grant Corporation just issued a press release. They're unilaterally terminating all of our sponsorships. They're saying our founders' moral failings have severely damaged their brand image. Chloe felt an invisible hand clench around her heart. What? Now all our other sponsors are calling to pull out. Suppliers are showing up demanding payment. The firm is going to collapse. She immediately called Caleb's father. The phone rang for a long time before he picked up. Dad, please, let me explain. Caleb and I just had a little misunderstanding. Ms. Simmons, Mr. Grant's voice was ice. My son has already instructed his lawyer to handle the divorce. All business between the Grant family and you is hereby terminated. From now on, please do not call this number again. The line went dead. Ms. Simmons. The title sent a chill down her spine. It was only then that she realized everything she had, her reputation, her status, her career, was built on the identity of Caleb Grant's wife. And now, Caleb was taking that identity back. She slumped in the driver's seat, overwhelmed by a despair she had never known. She remembered back in college, when Caleb had given up all social life for 6 months just to save up for a top-of-the-line road bike for her. She remembered in the early days of her startup, when he'd eaten ramen with her and used his entire allowance to pay for her office rent. She remembered the day he proposed, the way his eyes sparkled as he knelt before her, and how she'd cried when she said, yes. A flicker of regret finally surfaced. But before it could grow, it was consumed by anger and indignation. Why should she be treated this way? She had worked hard to get where she was. Caleb had only provided the seed money. She was the one who handled the operations and planning. How dare he take it all away with a single word, just because he had a rich father? And Juliana Croft. They must have been hooking up for ages. This whole honeymoon disaster was just their excuse to force a divorce. Yes, that had to be it. She'd been set up. The thought reignited her fighting spirit. She couldn't give up this easily. She had to find Caleb and expose his scheme. Just then, Leo called again. His voice was thick with tears. Coach, it's bad. Everyone on the team is blaming me, saying I'm the one who ruined the firm. They're saying I should be kicked out of the cycling world for good. Chloe screamed into the phone, her patience gone. What good does telling me this do now? Leo was taken aback. Then he started sobbing pitifully. But you promised you'd take care of me. You can't just abandon me now. It was then she realized what a fool she'd been, all for a man like this. She hung up and blocked his number. She drove back to the home she shared with Caleb, a sprawling penthouse in the city's most exclusive district where she had lived for 3 years. She thought, no matter how cruel Caleb was, he wouldn't throw her out of her own home. But when she put the key in the lock, it wouldn't turn. The lock had been changed. A cold sheet of A4 paper was taped to the door. It was a letter from his lawyer. It informed her that the property was purchased in full by Mr. Caleb Grant before their marriage and was therefore his sole property. She was instructed to contact the lawyer within 3 days to schedule a time to retrieve her personal belongings. Anything left after that would be disposed of. Chloe shrieked as she tore the paper off the door, crumpling it into a ball and throwing it on the floor. She was like a caged animal, collapsing in the empty hallway, hugging her knees and sobbing in despair. I was on the villa's terrace, discussing the initial plans for the new company with Juliana. The sea breeze was pleasant, the atmosphere relaxed. The butler hurried over, looking troubled. Mr. Grant, Ms. Croft, there's a Ms. Simmons outside who insists on seeing you. The hand holding my wine glass paused for a fraction of a second. Juliana glanced at me. Let her in, I said, my voice calm. I wanted to see what kind of nerve she had left to show her face here. Soon, Chloe burst in. She was a wreck. Her hair was a mess. Her eyes were bloodshot. The moment she saw me standing next to Juliana, her eyes turned crimson with rage. Caleb, she lunged toward me, trying to grab my wrist. Juliana smoothly stepped in front of me, blocking her path. Chloe, have you made enough of a scene? Come home with me now. She yelled at me, trying to get past Juliana. I looked at her coldly, as if she were a complete stranger. Home? This is my home now. As for where your home is, I'm not interested. Chloe was stung by my indifference. She turned her fury on Juliana. Juliana Croft, this is your doing. isn't it? You two have been sleeping together behind my back. You destroyed our marriage with your dirty tricks just to get Caleb. I almost laughed. Even now, this woman was still making excuses for her own failures, blaming everyone but herself. Juliana didn't even bother to look at her. She just spoke to me. It seems she still doesn't get it. I set down my wine glass, stood up, and looked Chloe straight in the eye. Chloe, cut the pathetic victim act. I'm divorcing you, and it has nothing to do with anyone else. It's because of you. It's because on the first day of our honeymoon, you brought your boy toy and his father's ashes along and left me stranded at a mortuary. That, I remember very, very clearly. Chloe's face went from pale to flushed. She tried to argue. That was just a small thing. I was just trying to help a friend. You're going to blow it up this much, divorce me, and run off with another woman? Juliana finally spoke, her voice quiet but carrying immense weight. Chloe, I think you misunderstood. Mr. Grant and I are business partners. As of yesterday, Mr. Grant has officially been appointed CEO of Apex Performance, a new subsidiary of my company. Chloe looked as if she'd been struck by lightning. She froze. What? Juliana took a step forward, delivering the final blow. And that cycling firm you were so proud of, the one you claimed to have built with your own blood and sweat? I'm sorry, but we'll be pulling our sponsorship from that as well. Your initial funding and your current brand endorsements. That was all my family's money. Chloe completely shattered. She looked at me, her eyes filled with disbelief and pleading. Caleb, us, all those years we had. You can't do this to me. Don't you remember? In college I remember I cut her off. I remember scraping by to buy you equipment. I remember begging my dad to get you sponsorships. But more than any of that, I remember you leaving me alone at the gates of a mortuary as you and Leo drove off without a backward glance. That memory is a lot fresher. I turned my back on her, refusing to look at her again. Butler, show her guest out. Two large security guards stepped forward and took Chloe by the arms. She struggled futilely, screaming my name incoherently, until her figure finally disappeared from the villa. The sea breeze blew, and everything was calm again. After being thrown out of the Maldives, Chloe's world imploded. Her firm was gone. Letters from the Grant Corporation's lawyers arrived one after another, liquidating every asset she had that was tied to sponsorship from our two families. It was only then that she realized with horror that almost nothing from her so-called career had ever truly belonged to her. Even the car she was driving was registered in my name. She was kicked out onto the street with nothing. She moved into a dingy, walk-up apartment in a bad part of town, paying a few $100s a month in rent. The room was dark and damp, filled with the smell of mildew, a universe away from the Riverview penthouse she used to call home. She started frantically calling her old friends and teammates, hoping to borrow money to start over. But the same people who had once fawned over her now avoided her like the plague. Chloe, it's not that I don't want to help, but my wife holds the purse strings. Hey, Chloe, I'm a little tight on cash myself right now. Maybe try someone else. Chloe Simmons? Sorry, wrong number. For the first time in her life, she understood the cold reality of human nature. With nowhere else to turn, she thought of Leo. She dialed the number she had previously blocked. As soon as he answered, Leo's mournful voice came through the line. Coach, you finally called me. What am I going to do? The entire cycling community is calling me a homewrecker. They're saying I destroyed your marriage and ruined the firm. I can't even leave my apartment. Chloe suppressed her anger. Stop crying. Do you have any money? I need to borrow some. Leo's sobbing stopped abruptly. Money? What money? I had to borrow from everyone just to pay for my dad's funeral. His tone turned sharp and vicious. Chloe, didn't you say you'd take care of me for life? Didn't you say you'd give me everything but marriage? Now that you've fallen, you want to take money from me? Have you no shame? I must have been blind to ever help you, she screamed before hanging up. She began to sell off her last remaining possessions. The limited edition road bikes she once treasured, the expensive gear I had bought for her piece by piece. She sold it all to second-hand dealers for pennies on the dollar. When she held the cash, she felt no relief, only profound humiliation. She started drinking heavily, getting blackout, drunk every day, try to numb herself with alcohol. Occasionally, she would see news about me on her phone. My new company, Apex Performance, was thriving. We'd signed the country's top athletes, and our sponsored events were consistently sold out and critically acclaimed. In the news photos, I was always dressed in a perfectly tailored suit, looking confident, capable, and radiant. It was a Caleb she had never seen before, a Caleb she could never touch again. Every article she read deepened her regret. She started to miss the old days. She missed the soup I used to make for her, the adoring look in my eyes, the home she had personally destroyed. But there was no going back. One night, drunk, she stumbled to the building that housed my company's headquarters. She stared up at the brightly lit skyscraper and worked up the courage to call my number. The call connected, but it was Juliana's voice that answered. Ms. Simmons, Mr. Grant is in a meeting. If this is about a business proposal, please schedule an appointment with my assistant. If not, please stop harassing him. The line went dead. Chloe clutched her phone and squatted on the sidewalk, crying like a lost child. I stepped out of a 3-hour video conference, rubbing the bridge of my nose. Juliana came in and handed me a hot cup of coffee. Long day, Mr. CO, she teased. I took the coffee and smiled. You're the one who's been working late with this rookie CEO, Ms. Croft. Apex Performance wouldn't have gotten off the ground this fast without you. Juliana sat down on the sofa across from me, looking relaxed. You're the one with the talent. I just helped you showcase what was already there. She was right. For the past few years, even though I held no official title at Chloe's company, I was involved in many of its core strategic decisions. Chloe was the technical expert, the coach. I was the one who understood business operations and marketing. We should have been the perfect team. But her intense pride, born from deep-seated insecurity, made her both reliant on my help and resentful of my influence. She always emphasized her self-made story to outsiders, deliberately downplaying my role. Now, I no longer had to hide behind anyone. The reason I started Apex Performance wasn't just to get back at Chloe. It was to prove that everything she had because of me, and without her, I could do even better. I abandoned Chloe's small-time, workshop-style management and brought in a modern corporate structure. I leveraged the connections of both the Grant and Croft families to quickly establish a powerful industry network. Watching the company's profits soar, seeing the drive and passion in my team, I felt a sense of accomplishment I had never known. It was far more satisfying than destroying one pathetic woman. Leo's life was no better than Chloe's. Ever since her downfall, he had become a pariah in the cycling world. Homewrecker, jinx, parasite. He was branded with every ugly label imaginable. The same people who had once put him on a pedestal now treated him like dirt. He couldn't even show his face in public. He directed all of his resentment at Chloe. He hated her for being so weak, for being defeated so easily. But most of all, he hated her for casting him aside like trash the moment trouble hit. He called her, texted her, cursing and insulting her. At first, Chloe would fight back, but eventually, she just ignored him. Isolated and vilified, Leo's hatred began to twist into something monstrous. If his life was ruined, he was going to make damn sure Chloe's was too. A depraved plan for revenge began to form in his mind. He started reaching out to some of their old teammates, the ones who had leached off Chloe when she was on top and become laughingstocks themselves after she fell. He created a group chat and invited them all. Guys, we can't let it end like this, he wrote, stoking their resentment. We have to find a way to make a comeback. When he felt the time was right, Leo unveiled his plan. I'm organizing a long-distance ride. We'll call it the Pacemaker Rebirth Tour. We'll tell the world we're doing this to find ourselves again, to prove we haven't been beaten. And, he added, I'm inviting Chloe to join us. She's a stray dog right now. If we give her a little hope, tell her this is her chance to get back on her feet, she'll jump at it. Then he introduced the most enticing part of his plan, the rotten core of his revenge. To make things interesting, to break the ice, our accommodations will be decided by a roommate lottery. Every night when we get to the motel, we'll put all the men's and women's names into a hat. We'll draw them randomly. Whoever you draw, that's who you share a room with for the night. The proposal ignited the group chat. A few of the men sent winking, devilish emojis. Leo, you're a genius. That sounds wild. I'm in. Watching the reactions, a smug smile spread across Leo's face. The fish were on the hook, and he knew a woman like Chloe, at the end of her rope, would be unable to resist the primal allure of attention and the fantasy of clawing her way back to relevance. He called her. When she answered, his voice was no longer venomous but soft and full of sympathy. Coach, it's me. I know you've been having a hard time. I feel terrible about it too. But we can't give up. I've organized a ride. A lot of the old team is coming. Everyone wants you to be there, to lead us back. This is our only chance, Coach. Just as he predicted, Chloe was tempted. When she heard about the roommate lottery, her eyes lit up. Seeing how many people had signed up, she smelled an opportunity. She took the bait. She agreed. Leo hung up the phone, a reptilian smile on his face. Chloe, you ruined me. Now I'm going to use that body you're so proud of to drag you down to an inescapable hell. The Pacemaker Rebirth Tour began as scheduled. It It was less a cycling tour and more a chaotic, undisciplined migration. Everyone in the group had their own agenda. The atmosphere was toxic. Chloe was a part of it, feeling both out of place and desperate to belong. It had been too long since she'd been the center of attention. Leo was especially warm to her, calling her coach at every turn, acting as if their bitter falling out had never happened. It fed Chloe's starved ego. She started to believe that this really was her chance for a comeback. On the first night, the group arrived at a rundown motel in a remote town. The conditions were terrible, but everyone was in high spirits. It was time for the thrilling roommate lottery. Leo held up a cardboard box, a wide grin on his face. Everyone knows the rules, right? You get who you get. No trading. The men in the group let out a collective, sleazy laugh. A few of the women, dressed to the nines, scanned the crowd, their eyes lingering on the men who looked like they might have some money. Chloe's heart started to pound. Alcohol and months of pent-up desperation made her forget her humiliation and failure. She was almost excited. The draw began. Leo deliberately had Chloe go first. She reached into the box and pulled out a slip of paper. She unfolded it. On it was written a man's name she didn't recognize. Rico, from the crowd. A tall, well-dressed man gave her a suave smile. The group started hooting and catcalling. Chloe's face flushed. Half reluctant, half willing, she let the crowd push her toward Rico as they walked to their assigned room. The door closed behind them. Outside, Leo stared at the shut door, the smile on his face turning colder than ice. Rico wasn't a teammate. He was a friend Leo had brought in from out of town. A man just like him, filled with resentment toward life and women. A man carrying a secret weapon. In the days that followed, the tour descended into debauchery. The nightly roommate lottery became a sordid ritual. Chloe fell completely into it. As if trying to purge all the repression of the past few months, she abandoned all her inhibitions. When the tour ended, the group scattered like rats. Chloe returned to her damp, tiny apartment. Life seemed to have returned to its miserable baseline, but something inside her had irrevocably changed. A few weeks later, she came down with a persistent low-grade fever and felt completely drained of energy. She assumed it was just a cold, took some over-the-counter medicine, and tried to ignore it. But things got worse. A red rash appeared on her neck, and her lymph nodes swelled. She lost a shocking amount of weight, looking like a husk of her former self, as if all her vitality had been sucked out of her. Fear finally set in. With the last of her money, she went to a community clinic that offered anonymous testing. Sitting across from the doctor, staring at the lab report, she felt the world go silent. On the report, next to HIV antibody, were two clear, damning letters. Positive. She had AIDS. She sat frozen in the chair like a statue, unable to move. It wasn't until the doctor impatiently cleared his throat that she stumbled out of the office in a daze. She thought of Leo, of that grotesque tour, of a man named Rico. It all clicked into place. It was a trap, a meticulously crafted, diabolically cruel trap set just for her. She frantically tried to call Leo, but his number was no longer in service. Chloe Simmons's life was officially over. Destroyed by sickness and terror, she curled up in her sunless apartment, like a maggot waiting to rot. She had no money for treatment. Her body grew weaker every day. The athletic physique she was once so proud of withered away, leaving behind a skeletal frame. Sometimes she would think of me, of the sweet moments we'd shared, of the warm home she had so casually thrown away. Endless regret coiled around her heart like a toxic vine. If only she hadn't let Leo in the car that day. If only she had listened to me when I was angry, instead of abandoning me. But life has no if-onlys. Her end came on a rainy night. Alone in her filthy bed, she died from respiratory failure, a complication of her illness. Her body wasn't discovered until days later, when neighbors complained about the smell. When she died, she had no family by her side, no friends to mourn her. Just as she had left me, all alone, at the gates of a mortuary. In the headquarters of my new company, Apex Performance, I stood before the massive floor-to-ceiling windows, looking down at the thriving city below. Juliana stood beside me. After a moment of silence, she finally spoke. "Did you hear? About Chloe?" The coffee cup in my hand didn't tremble. I stared calmly into the distance and gave a soft, single-word reply. Yeah, news of her death had already made the rounds. Some people felt pity, some regret, but most just saw it as a cautionary tale. Juliana studied my profile, as if searching for some flicker of emotion. "You don't feel anything?" I raised my coffee cup, toasting the sunlight streaming through the window. "I feel that this coffee tastes particularly good today." Chloe's ending was the one she had chosen for herself, step by agonizing step. While I stood on the mountaintop, taking in a view, she had become a speck of insignificant dust at its base. To me, her death was nothing more than an irrelevant piece of old news. I set down my cup and turned toward the conference room. Come on, Juliana. The investors are waiting.